Welcome to the city of the unwritten. A city that's given so much. A city of people who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. A city of makers, entrepreneurs, musicians, artists. A city of laughter, memories, and people who will welcome others in with a cup of heartwarming, handmade coffee. A city of people, young and old, working together. People who explore, live, and grow together. But what makes this place special? Being listed year after year as one of the best places to raise a family. Maybe because we have a community recognized for its safe neighborhoods and revered for its low unemployment. A city where adventure is everywhere you look, where you can pioneer your own story. We've opened a new page to write on for the generations ahead. Welcome to Bismarck. Come write your story.
Good morning. Welcome to another Virtual 1MC North Dakota. Happy to have all of you with us this morning to a very special edition of our 1MC. We're going to open it up today, though, with a random act of art. In our musicians today, Land in Hand is a husband and wife musical duo of Joel and Alyssa Land. They've been singing together for 7 years, and they just released their debut album a few months ago called Unexpected Wonderful. So if you get a chance, go like their Land in Hand Facebook page, message them to buy their CD, and they're performing one of their originals for us this morning called I Will Grow.
Your love is like the water, your mercy like the breeze. Your spirit takes me over and grows me like the trees. Though it's slow, I will grow. Teach me to love my brother and be quick to my knees. I find you when I listen and listen when you lead. Where you lead, I will go. I am weak, will you make me strong? Use me now, I've been here too long, and I am not afraid, there's too much to gain. I am weak, will you make me strong? Use me now, I've been here too long, and I am not afraid, you have made me brave. Teach me to love my brother and be quick to my knees.
Alyssa and Joy, that was amazing. Thanks so much for being part of 1 Million Cups. So, welcome, North Dakota. My name is Marlo Anderson, and I am your MC today for the virtual, actually the April Fool's virtual 1 Million Cups. But the difference today is going to be that instead of gags and whatever, we're going to actually give you information, useful information that you can use today. So April Fools, right? So in 1582, we switched from the Julian calendar, from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. And the reason that we have April Fools is because back in 1582, March was the first month. So if you didn't get the memo in 1582, you were considered an April Fool because you were still using the Julian calendar. So anyway, please download the 1 Million Cups app. If you have it already, please check in with your local 1 Million Cups. If you're in Fargo, if you're in Grand Forks, Williston, wherever you're at, please check in with the 1 Million Cups app with your local chapter. Thank you to our sponsors. We have amazing sponsors that are making this possible today. So if you see any of these sponsors, please thank them. So what is 1 Million Cups? 1 Million Cups is a free weekly seminar, I guess you could call it, a free weekly meetup for startups, and gives them the opportunity to network and engage in their community for advice. So we encourage anybody who has an entrepreneurial spirit to please come and join us. And right now, of course, we're doing the virtual, but soon we're going to be back to meeting in our local communities. So we can change the face of our startup community by connecting local entrepreneurs over a million cups of coffee. That's what 1 Million Cups is. Remember to use hashtag 1MCND. If you have questions that you'd like to ask our speaker today, go ahead and use that in Twitter and Facebook. And community announcements. We do have a couple of those. Actually, I think we have one. And we'll let that play now. There is no video. It's just a cool graphic. Thank you very much, Adam. And to our wonderful tech team in the back there. So today is also Census Day. We're wanting to make you aware to make sure you get your census turned in. So, imagine 100 years ago, you're on your horse, and you hear the sound in the sky, and you look up, and it's an airplane. And you just sit there in amazement. I mean, think about that time, 100 years ago. I was celebrating a person's birthday yesterday that was 101 years old, living at that time. Amazing, right? But we were also dealing with the Spanish flu. And it was a tough time. In fact, social distancing, that term was actually coined during the Spanish flu 100 years ago. So this is nothing new for us. But what's different about this pandemic is that we are able to communicate. You know, we also have technology. We have a lot of technology now that we didn't have back then. Yes. So anyway, I had something else I wanted to say, and of course I forgot about that. But because of that ability to communicate in the way that we have nowadays, unlike 100 years ago where neighbors were afraid to be around each other because they just didn't know. 1/4 of the world population in 1920 was impacted or had the Spanish flu. So we're able to change that a little bit. And imagine the business community. Were you afraid when your neighbor came in to buy sugar or rice? Of course you were. So this is nothing new, but the way we communicate is. And that's why I'm honored to have our Senator John Hoeven to speak to you today about the opportunities that we have for the business community. So let's give a virtual warm welcome to our Senator from North Dakota, John Hoeven.
Thanks.
Oh, yes.
Thanks, Marlo.
So,
Oh, here we go.
here we go.
There you go.
So, in case you wanted to know, we call this the COVID-19 distancing stick. This is 6 feet.
Yeah, it seems further, doesn't
It
it?
does seem further, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity for people to understand how far 6 feet
It is.
really is. So.
I mean, in theory, I'm about 6 feet tall, but I don't know. That looks further. See if it's pretty close. Pretty close?
It's pretty close.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Right, you're right. Well, it's great to be here at A Million Cups. Thanks so much, Marlo, for inviting me. And I thought I'd maybe just go through a few of the things that we've been working on in the Senate and our Congress to make sure that we can provide some help to people who are working to defeat the coronavirus, which we will do. There's no question about it. And I think North Dakotans are doing a fabulous job. And so I want to say right at the beginning here, thanks to all of our great people across this great state who are doing such a fantastic job, not only doing all the things that they should be doing in terms of social distancing and some of the things that you talked about, Marlo, but also looking out for their family and looking out for their friends and looking out for their neighbors. And I see example after example after example where North Dakotans are doing just that. And I'm so proud of our state all the time, but particularly proud at times like these when we're challenged and our people do all the things that they should be doing and more, and doing things for each other. And that's so great, and that's a great example of how not only are we gonna beat the coronavirus and get through it, but I think really in many respects North Dakota is gonna lead the way. This is a great example, 1 Million Cups. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of 1 Million Cups, but it's new, it's innovative, it's creative, it's interactive, it's about getting people involved, and it's about the future. It's about the entrepreneurship that is such a big part of what we're doing in North Dakota today. And I've had the opportunity to be at 1 Million Cups in Fargo with Greg Tavine and his whole group, and it's so wonderful to be here in Bismarck at 1 Million Cups interactively, and I got to say I really look forward to when we can do it when we're all here at the Dakota stage. And I hadn't been here at the Dakota stage for a while, but I hope our participants can get a little feel for what a cool place this is. I mean, it's an old theater. They do all kind of productions here. If you haven't been to one, when we're out, once we beat the virus and we're out and about again, come on down and see one of the productions here. They're fabulous, and it's just got that character. Everyone's had a chance to be to the theater, to plays, to performances, and it has, like Bal Mayhew's here in Bismarck, it's got that feel, that character. It's really fantastic. So come on down, and definitely come down for 1 Million Cups here in Bismarck. Thanks, kudos, Marla, to you, to Evan, to everybody that's part of making 1 Million Cups happen here. Again, this is part of that networking that's our big push for technology in North Dakota. Let me go through a few things that I think are important for our participants today in terms of this coronavirus battle. The legislation that we've passed in Congress, there's been 3 phases so far, and obviously there may be more, but the first phase was about $8.3 billion, and that was really focused on getting resources to healthcare providers. That was kind of the initial step, helping our doctors, our nurses, our hospitals, our healthcare providers. So that was phase 1, we got that out. And then phase 2 was really more focused on individuals and businesses in terms of if they got coronavirus, making sure that there was help there, so if they needed to quarantine for 14 days, or if they actually had to be not only out of work for that, but if they actually got sick, or a family member got sick and they had to stay home and take care of them, making sure that there is the help for them so that they could do those things, because that's such an important part of preventing the spread, right? The community spread of COVID-19, making sure that if you're sick, you stay home, and that you don't have to worry about the workplace and missing work while you're either home quarantining or sick or taking care of somebody, family member who may be sick. So that was phase 2. And then phase 3, as you know, was the really large package that we just passed here recently. And that really goes to all of those elements, not only helping the healthcare community, the people who are on the front lines. Thank you so much. God bless you for all of our healthcare providers. God bless you for what you're doing there on the front lines. But getting them the resources and the help excuse me, so that they could continue to take care of people and fight this coronavirus. But then also, in addition to addressing the healthcare piece, making sure that for the rest of us, that we have that help and support, so again, we can do the social distancing that's necessary, and so that we know during this time when our businesses are shut down and we're not able to get in and work like we always do, that there are things in place to help us through this stretch while we defeat the virus. So the first one I want to talk about for just a minute is one that really is, I think, the most direct assistance to everybody, and that's the checks that are going out to replace that lost income. That lost income while people are not able to go into their business and work. And essentially that's $1,200 per person. So $1,200 per person, $2,400, for example, for a married couple, $500 per child. So if you have dependent children, it's $500 for each child. So for a family of 4, that's $3,400. Now, it is income tested, means tested, so up to $75,000, you would get the full $1,200. From $75,000 up to just short of $100,000, then it would start to phase out. For a married couple, that means $150,000 would be eligible for the full $2,400. For someone who is head of household, then you can have income of up to $112,500. Why is that? Because a head of household, of course, is a single parent who has dependents, right? So that's why that income limit is higher. Now, the IRS wants to get these checks out as fast as they can. So what they're trying to do is they're working off your 2019 tax return if you filed it, or your 2018 tax return, and they would then send, if you have direct deposit, they would send the check to your account that correlates with that tax return. If you don't do direct deposit, then they would send you a check. The benefit, of course, of direct deposit is that it gets to you sooner. And they're trying to have that out within 3 weeks. We're about a week into that. So that means in just about 2 weeks, hopefully, if you have direct deposit, you're going to see that financial assistance. If you're getting a check in the mail, then it takes a little longer. Now, for individuals who may not have filed a tax return in 2018 or 2019, you can go to irs.gov, irs.gov, or you can go to hoeven.senate.gov, my website, /coronavirus, and we have a link there to the IRS site and other information for you as well. So as I go through and talk about things here for the next few minutes before we do a little Q&A and then get Marlo or somebody else up here for the next part of the presentation, you can go to our website too at hoeven.senate.gov /coronavirus, and we link you to some of these other sources of information. But at irs.gov, they will have more information on this program. Why is that important? Because you might not have filed a tax return in 2019 or 2018, or you might not have paid income tax, but that doesn't mean you aren't still eligible to get that assistance, okay? If you have a work-eligible Social Security number, then you may very well still be eligible, even if you didn't have earnings in 2019 or 18 and didn't file a tax return. So that's when you would go to irs.gov, get more information. Now that website is not fully interactive yet. They have information on it now, but they will continue to update that. And as they do that, then you'll be able to go to the website there and get that information. Make sure that you provide the information to IRS so that you can get that financial payment if you are eligible for it. So that's kind of the first piece that I wanted to touch on, because that's something that really replaces those lost earnings most directly and most immediately and provides help to people who are, thinking through this stretch, hey, I'm going to need some assistance. Where do I get that and how do I get that? The next thing I'll touch on for just a minute is unemployment insurance. And then we're going to go to what they call the Paycheck Protection Program. The unemployment insurance, again, the state of, that's run through the states. And so Governor Burgum's been working very hard in his presentations to make sure that, and his whole, Lieutenant Governor, all the elected officials and his whole administration is working very hard to get that information out to you every day. They have their presentations statewide at 4 o'clock every day. And so he's talked about the unemployment insurance, I think, with everybody. But in the CARES Act, which is the Phase 3 act we passed, the big act that we passed is called CARES, the CARES Act, we included more assistance for unemployment insurance in a couple of ways that I think are important for you to understand. One is we increased the amount of unemployment insurance that you will get. So for somebody who is, is laid off because of or can't go into work because of their business is shut down, and then they are actually laid off, then they qualify for unemployment insurance. Remember, in some cases, businesses close down, but you're not laid off. And that's why we're going to talk about the Paycheck Protection Program, the Small Business Loan Program, in just a minute. But if your business is shut down and you're laid off, then you're eligible for unemployment insurance, right? So we tried to buttress the unemployment insurance for the states. Did that in a number of ways. One is we increased the amount of unemployment insurance you would get. So if you're laid off, you don't get your full salary or your full paycheck, right? Through unemployment insurance, you get a lesser amount. So we actually increased the amount you would get by $600, okay? So that's an increase of $600, and that goes for 16 weeks, okay, 16 weeks. The other thing is, so you don't worry about, well, what happens if my business doesn't start up in that amount of time or something like that, or I'm laid off longer because my business isn't able to bring me back. We also extended unemployment insurance for another 13 weeks beyond that, again, to try to make sure that individuals know that they're going to be comfortable or covered so that they don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay those monthly bills while we go through this COVID-19 battle and get things back going the way we know we will, hopefully as soon as possible. But again, that unemployment insurance there, so it's each state's program is a little different. The states run their unemployment insurance, but this federal assistance supports that unemployment insurance, so you both get an increased amount and it extends longer, again, to reassure people that that assistance is going to be there for them, through this stretch. But what we really want is we want to keep businesses ready to go, help businesses be ready to go as soon as they can open up. The ones that, that either aren't open or that are obviously really affected, we want them open as soon as we can, as soon as it's safe, and prudent to do so. And we want to try to keep employees attached to those businesses, right? I mean, that's better because it's better for the business, it's better for the employee. So that's the real objective, is to help businesses, particularly small businesses that need that help through this stretch, and to keep employees tied to those small businesses. And as you know, here in North Dakota, I mean, the vast, vast majority of our businesses and our employment are small businesses. And so this is absolute priority, and that's the Paycheck Protection Program that you've heard about, or the Small Business Loan Program. But it's really much more than a loan program. It's actually a grant program, and that's why it's so important to understand how it works for all our small businesses. And remember that this isn't just about, a small business as we think of it. Small business is defined as 500 or fewer employees. So if it's 500 or fewer employees, then that's the SBA, Small Business Administration of Small Business, right? But it also includes self-employed, it includes independent contractors, and others that maybe typically don't think of themselves as, small business. So again, it's, we tried to make it as inclusive as possible. It'll work through your local financial institution. So bank, credit union, whatever, are all eligible to deliver this program for the SBA. And basically the way it works is you can borrow up to 2.5 times your average monthly annual payroll. So basically 2.5 times of what your payroll is for a year, right? And then up to 8 weeks of that is forgiven. Also, other expenses like interest on your mortgage, interest on your debt, rent payments, insurance premiums, anything that's considered a qualifying expense is forgiven as well. So you can go in and borrow 2.5 times your payroll, up to a maximum of $10 million, okay, whichever is less, right? And then a lot of those expenses are forgiven, meaning you don't have to pay them back. Non-qualifying expenses that you borrow, then those you would have to pay back. So the whole idea is it's a way to get businesses cash flow while they're shut down through this stretch so that they keep those employees attached. Because remember that payroll, they borrow that payroll, but they get it's forgiven, it's granted to them. So it really encourages those businesses to keep the employees employed even while the business is shut down, so they're attached to that business. The business is ready to go as soon as they're opened up, and those employees have a paycheck and the businesses stay intact. That's the whole idea behind the program. As of Friday, banks are eligible to start delivering that program. Obviously, that's very quick. They're not going to all be ready by any means by Friday to do it. That doesn't mean you can't start inquiring at your financial institution, but already our financial institutions are doing training with various groups. Bank of North Dakota is leading one today. I'll be working on one next week, but working with SBA to get that program up and running as soon as they can. But again, it's about helping our small businesses, keeping our economy going, helping those employees and keeping those businesses intact. Those are some of the, then there's also a loan program for larger businesses, meaning businesses obviously over 500. Those are low interest loans, but those have to be paid back. There's not the grant aspect for bigger business like there is for the smaller businesses. A couple other things I'll mention. I work very much in the ag area. I chair ag appropriations. As you know, agriculture is our #1 driving industry in this state. We have so many farmers and ranchers out there, and they were having a hard time before coronavirus, and so they're having a challenging time now. And of course, we rely on them for our food supply every single day. Highest quality, lowest cost food supply in the world, thanks to our farmers and ranchers. So we also secured about $25 billion to help our farmers and ranchers through this stretch. And what I got in the bill was both the funding and the authorization, but now we actually have to develop the program as to how it's going to be provided to help our ranchers. And before, our ranchers weren't eligible. I was able to include them, help our ranchers and our farmers through this stretch. So on Friday, I'll be having a teleconference with all of the commodity groups and producer groups and with USDA, Department of Agriculture, to start to figure out how we are actually going to provide that assistance to our farmers and ranchers. So that's a very important one. Also, I chair Indian Affairs Committee in the Senate, and we got very substantial resources to help our Native American population, and so I'll be setting up a telephone conference with the tribal chairman and others to talk about that assistance. It's about $8 billion in terms of the Tribal Stabilization Fund, but it also includes more than $1 billion for Indian Health Services, again, as they fight, this pandemic on the reservation. Also other assistance for education and for law enforcement on the reservation as well. So those are other important pieces. And then one of the things, maybe I'll wrap up with, this funding includes more than $127 billion for hospitals. For the personal protective equipment, PPE that they need. You see so much. They're out there in the front lines. They need the masks and the gowns and the gloves and all these things. So we're working very hard to ramp that up, both in terms of the funding, but then also through the Defense Production Act, the administration working with private companies to ramp up the production of the equipment that the medical community needs. So that was about $127 billion to help our hospitals, doctors, nurses, healthcare providers. And then for the states, each state is on the front line battling as well. So it's about $150 billion to augment the state's resources. So for example, what that means for North Dakota is more than $1 billion. It's about $1.25 billion that will come into North Dakota, state of North Dakota, for Governor Burgum and the state of North Dakota to use to battle coronavirus and all these expenses that they have with coronavirus. Also funding for our K-12 schools as they work to battle it, and higher education as well. So that's in essence the resource package that's out there to help us through this challenging time. And I've already, as I say, setting up teleconferences and other remote type meetings, various venues, some phone calls, some teleconferences, and so forth, trying to make sure that we're working with North Dakotans, businesses, and our great people across this great state to make sure that we are able to utilize these resources and get these programs and get this assistance out to our people and our businesses and our communities as soon as we can and as well as we can. So with that, Marlo, I'm going to wrap up right there, and if there's some questions, and I'm happy to have you come up 6 feet away and be interactive. If you may well want to jump in and answer something, or however you want to do it. And again, thanks to everybody who's part of 1 million cups.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Senator Hoeven, for all you have done. So we'll put you over here in this chair.
All right.
And I'll sneak over on this one.
Sounds good.
I know we have a ton of questions coming in.
All right.
So, Lakin, you're just going to start asking away, okay?
I will, yes. Thank you again, Senator Hoeven, for being here and for taking the time to speak with our audience. We have a lot of sole proprietors and self-employed folks who tune in. How can they take advantage of this CARES Act or the packages that's available?
Right. So number one, that's why I started with the individual checks, because everybody will get those, whether you're a farmer or a small business, whether you're, like I say, a student with a work eligible, I got to mention students, Social Security number. So, there's that initial assistance, that's the soonest thing, but that's why I brought up the Paycheck Protection Program, because that's one where, these individual entrepreneurs, self-employed, so forth, can go in and try to get, or can go in and get some assistance there as well. And I think that's very important because it's an SBA loan, so when you go into the bank, it's 100% guaranteed to the bank. SBA provides 100% guarantee to the bank, and my understanding is you're not required to put up a personal guarantee or collateral. So I think it's really a case where for some of these young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs of any age where they're out there, they're trying to get going and they're operating on a tight budget and not a lot of capital, it's the kind of program where they should be able to get approved and get some assistance. And then, as I say, there's the grant aspect to that program as well. So I think that's something that we were very mindful of trying to do is help small businesses and self-employed and independent contractors, get access to capital that way.
You had said that you want to say something about
students. So for students, not only is interest deferred now, or interest payments are deferred for 6 months, and interest in essence is not accruing for 6 months. So in essence, they don't have interest on their student debt for 6 months, and their payments are deferred for 6 months. And then also, I was co-sponsor on another piece of legislation that we got passed that will, I think, help them long-term, and that is for any employer that pays an employee up to $5,250, in essence, for student loan repayment. That's tax-free now. It's not taxable anymore. So that will help people who are paying off student loans actually have more money to pay off their student loan, because it's now tax-free income up to $5,250 for them to do that.
All right, great. Another question for Senator Hoeven?
Yeah, we do. So you had talked about the PPP, is it Payroll Protection Plan?
Paycheck Protection Plan.
There we go. Can you talk a little bit about what verification or documentation small business owners or folks who are applying for this need to get ready so that they can be ready when it's available?
All right. So that's exactly why we're running it through all of the local financial institutions, because in almost every case, those individuals are going to have a bank or credit union or some financial institution they're dealing with. Okay, now they may not, in some cases they won't, so then they're going in cold, and we get that. But in essence, SBA will have that criteria. That's what they're setting up right now. But the whole idea is to make it as simple as possible. So if you've already got a financial institution that you're dealing with, you can go in and see them. They've probably got most of the information that they need, okay? And given the fact that they're going to get 100% guarantee from the SBA and that the personal guarantee and collateral is not required by SBA for this credit, that puts you in a situation where hopefully it's not burdensome to provide that information that they will need for you to get the loan.
All right, Lakin, just keep on going here.
Okay. Is there a plan in place if this pandemic lasts longer than expected?
Well, that's why I mentioned the extended unemployment benefits. For example, I think, people who are laid off now, and even people who traditionally wouldn't qualify for unemployment insurance benefits, that's one of the things we addressed in this bill by both increasing the amount of unemployment insurance that they can get, but also extending it for a longer period and beefing up the unemployment insurance that states have so that they have some reassurance that even if this goes longer, like I say, you've got the 4 months worth that I identified where you can get the higher unemployment insurance, but then you've got another 13 weeks after the state program where you can get that additional unemployment insurance. So the idea is that people have some reassurance that, while they're not employed with their company, they're going to have unemployment insurance, they're going to have some income, but even if, their business has a hard time getting up and going and can't hire everybody right away, there's the extended benefit, to help them. Now, the other thing is whether we'll need to do more in Congress, we'll have to see. We've done the first 3 phases. We're hopeful that this 3rd phase is going to really help and really make a difference, but we'll see if there's more we need to do as we see how this progresses and how long it takes for us to beat it and get things back to normal. There may be more steps that we have to take or more phases. We'll see.
Thank you, Senator. Next question, Lakin?
Yeah, this next one I think would be for both of you. I think it'd be a great conversation piece. Do you think this whole COVID-19 situation is going to accelerate the gig economy?
Boy,
I should turn to you first. That's in your wheelhouse, Marlo.
Well, I'll say 100% yes. I think we will. People are going to start getting used to maybe working more freelance, more working at home, being introduced to new technology, right? So maybe they've never done a video conference before from their home, and all of a sudden they like this. I see that, and I also see businesses who are thinking about expansion. Maybe they don't need to add another building because half of their workforce can be at home now. So I really do believe that the gig economy is going to be accelerated because of this. So I don't know what your thoughts are.
I agree 100%. I think you're already seeing, new ideas, new concepts, new solutions, entrepreneurship, innovation, all those things. A lot of what 1 Million Cups is all about. You're already seeing those things. People thinking about, okay, how do I respond to the current situation? And out of that, I think you're going to continue to, the hallmark of America is innovation, entrepreneurship, creativity. That's what's made our economy the most dynamic, strongest, largest economy in the history of the world. It's because we combine the talents of our people, the ingenuity, the creativity, and the intellectual capacity and just amazing imagination of our people with the idea that you can get capital, create a business, start a new service or product and make it work and make a living for yourself and for your family. I mean, that's America. So, we're seeing it already. I think there's no question we're going to see more of it.
I just think about farmers with baling wire, right? There's so many things that were fixed because of that. I mean, I know it's a smaller analogy to what we're dealing with right now, but it really is the same thing. So we're very innovative, and North Dakota needs to be proud, I think, of our people who innovate here. So, next question.
Yeah. If a small business takes on these loans and is still unable to survive, will they have other options?
Wow. In terms of the actual bill itself, I think I've gone through the main pieces. Beyond that, I think, that the idea is that between SBA and Bank of North Dakota, they work with your financial institution to try to provide as much assistance as they can to keep people going. And so I think that the other piece I'd add is the Bank of North Dakota has some programs that they've developed as well to try to help people get through this stretch, as well as SBA.
Yeah. And we've seen other companies coming to the plate too, waiving interests, things like that. If you talk to your lenders, you might be able to get some payments deferred. Those kind of things would be acceptable as well, right?
Yes.
Great.
You bet.
Okay, there are stories of individuals printing and sewing masks and doing whatever they can to assist their communities. What do you think the average person or the average North Dakotan can do to help?
Well, first, just what I talked about at the outset, by making sure that you're doing the things as far as social distancing, staying home if you're sick, washing your hands all the time, all those kind of things for starters. We flatten the curve and, hopefully reduce the spread, the community spread of the disease. And I really think North Dakotans are doing a good job of that. And, as we start to come out of this, it's not going to be like all at once. I don't think it's going to be like flipping a switch. I think it's going to be, it's going to be in phases, and it's going to be different in different parts of the country. For example, you're seeing what's going on right now in New York City. Right now, that's where most of the cases are. They're having a very hard time. Also in places like San Francisco and in New Orleans and some of these urban areas. I think, you're going to see in places like North Dakota where, we are more spread out. I think we are very common sense. We are very proactive. I think, places like North Dakota are going to lead the way out in terms of, it kind of being a phased approach where we start to get out and do more as the healthcare experts tell us we can, while still making sure we protect vulnerable populations. So again, I think North Dakotans really are doing all the things that are making a difference already, and then there's the volunteerism. Not only neighbor helping neighbor, family taking care of family, all those kind of things. I think you've also seen now, I think where Governor Burgum has set up a way for people to also volunteer to help. But of course we have to be careful how we do that so we still maintain the social distancing and prevent the community spread. But already, that volunteerism that we have is happening just ad hoc, as well as in an organized way through different organizations and even through the state.
So Senator, we're going to switch roles a little bit here. If you want to stay on the stage for this next part, that would be fantastic, because I think Tyler and Evan are just going to have a conversation about some things, so you're welcome to stay if you like. But I'm going to swap my mic out for Evan and Tyler, so you guys come on up. That's right, hurdle. I'm going to move the COVID-19 distance stick. Oh, wherever you want to be. Okay. I think Tyler's going to wait for it. Thank you, Senator.
All right, well, thank you so much, Senator, for joining us this morning. My name is Tyler DeMars. I'm with CTB and Entrepreneur Support Center here in Bismarck. I'm joined on stage by Evan Anderson. He's also part of our 1 Million Cups organizing team, a serial entrepreneur, most recently founder of Gizmonics, which is a product development and prototyping consulting business that he runs. What we wanted to wrap up with today is Senator Hoeven provided us with a lot of great information about these programs rolling out. This has been a very aggressive rollout of these programs, so this information has been coming out quickly. We wanted to give you some resources that we look at when we're trying to stay up to date on what's happening, what's being rolled out, what programs and resources are available for entrepreneurs. So first one that we stay up to date on is the North Dakota Department of Commerce's page on COVID-19 resources for businesses and employers. They keep a number of different programs on there updated, especially for entrepreneurs interested in learning when programs like Innovate ND and LIFT will be resuming. They've both been paused through this COVID crisis. Stick to that page, follow that, and you can find some of that information. Other resources, the Greater North Dakota Chamber website is another one we watch closely. Of course, all of your local chamber websites might have resources that are available to just you in your community, so make sure you're following those. The SBA portal on COVID-19. Make sure you're watching that. They keep a really nice running update there of how the CARES Act programs are rolling out and what information you need. One thing to understand is the difference between the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Fund. You apply for that one through the SBA portal. So that's on, that portal is available through the COVID-19 portal on sba.gov. For the payroll protection program, that's applied through local lenders only. So it's important to make that distinction, that those are two different loan programs and the application process is different for each of them. Lastly, if you're checking on resources and don't know where to turn, at CTB we've opened up an email address, covidhelp@ctbnd.com. If you don't know where else to go, email us. If we can't help you, we'll try to get you connected to somebody either locally in your community or in Bismarck that can help you out. So Last thing, every week we ask the question, how can our 1 Million Cups community support whatever entrepreneur we have on stage? So this week we're going to flip that a little bit, talk a little bit about how can our 1 Million Cups community support our 1 Million Cups community. So first, Evan, as an entrepreneur, I wanted to pose this to you. What's your advice for our 1 Million Cups community member looking to support other entrepreneurs?
I guess looking at what we're doing, my wife's also an entrepreneur, has a consulting business, does most of her consulting in New York City. So there's obviously been some impact there. Sees the senator on planes quite often too, by the way. So she's looking for alternatives like being able to do what she does remotely, getting certified in some processes to do that. Beyond that, I'm somewhat fortunate. I had a backlog of work, so I'm not taking advantage of any of these programs. I want to leave those dollars there for the businesses that it will truly make that difference for businesses that wouldn't survive without it. And beyond that, I guess the advice I'm giving to anyone that'll listen, and I think it follows a lot with what the CARES Act is trying to do, keeping businesses viable. And one of the ways that I advise is taking this opportunity. If your business is slowing down and you've got more time on your hands than maybe you've ever had before, you don't have those customer fires and emergencies burning right now, use that time as wisely as you can. One of my favorite authors from days gone by, Stephen Covey, talked a lot about quadrant 2 time management, and that was focusing on things that are important yet not urgent. And I think this is an opportune time to do some of those things for some of these business owners. Clean up your accounting, do some equipment maintenance, do some training. Pay attention to the fact that your employees are now working remotely. You're getting better at that. And as Marlo was talking about the gig economy and such, but your business is getting better at this new skill that you can probably employ when we come out the other side of this thing. So I think that's some very proactive and some very value-added things that anybody, in that list, anybody can find something on that list that they could or maybe should be working on. And so when we do come out the other side, your business is stronger, more agile, ready to in the starting blocks, because this certainly all comes at a cost. There's going to be a little bit of a hole to dig out of for us as a nation. So the more prepared we all are to dig in and help bring things back up to where they are, the better. So.
Really sound advice. So this, we know we have some tremendous challenges here, but there's an opportunity in this too, right? And if we're going to come out stronger on the other side, we have to leverage that opportunity. Yeah, thank you. Well, as a resource partner, I'd just like to speak into real quick, even pre-COVID, we have this opportunity to think and be more strategic about our businesses through this, but I think part of the challenge here on the flip side of that is even without a global pandemic, entrepreneurs and small business owners as a population are more prone to mental health issues, anxiety, depression. I'd encourage all of us as part of our North Dakota 1 Million Cups community, stay connected, right? If you are scaling back hours and have a little extra bandwidth, have a little extra time on your hands, if you know somebody who's struggling or just you need to extend a hand, reach out to them, be a sounding board for them, be a thinking partner for them, plan some virtual happy hours if needed. We're social distancing, but that doesn't mean we can't stay connected, and I think we need those connections now more than ever, especially for our entrepreneurial and small business community. So that would be my ask for our 1 Million Cups community is let's make sure we're staying connected, make sure we're extending our hand and supporting our fellow entrepreneurs through this. So, all right, with that, that is all we have for you this morning. Next week, we're continuing our statewide collaboration with 1 Million Cups Fargo. So they'll have Nice Starts. It's a program that is launched by our friends at the Nice Center, the Entrepreneurial Center at NDSU. They will be hearing about that next week from Fargo. But beyond that, Senator, do you have any closing comments?
Well, just I want to say thank you to 1 Million Cups, to Marlo, Evan, to the whole crew here, to Greg Tavine, the whole crew in Fargo, and across the state. I'm a big believer. I encourage everyone to join 1 Million Cups. This kind of networking, I think, is so important as we continue to build this great entrepreneurial community in our state. And to everybody in North Dakota, God bless you and be safe. We will beat this coronavirus, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Senator. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.